Good morning, Jacob people. So today we'll be talking about this is gonna be a series on one video, but before the ring, right? So I even made notes in my book, so bear with me there, please. All right. So this morning I just want to thank God for another opportunity to be able to speak and to bring enlightenment to others. This morning I pray that God will be glorified and magnified in all that is being done this morning. All right, so first things first, marriage is God's idea, and we know this. Genesis 2:18-24. And we all know that commitment is essential to a successful marriage. Genesis 24:58-60. So what do we do before we get to the ring? And a lot of persons think it's you get a ring and it's like everything, that is like your life's accomplishment. It is not. Let's just get that straight right now. So what is the first thing I would tell anybody who is single, engaged, about to be married? First things first is you need to be whole. Both of you need to be whole before you enter into marriage. What do I mean by whole? It means that you have to have a sense of self, your own individuality, because you're coming to form as one. And if both of you are not whole, or you're not sure of yourself, you have low self-esteem, you'll be looking to your partner to validate you. So for me, trust me, my husband is very patient, because this girl here, trust me, when me tell you, say I was a hot mess. And well, you find that if you don't know who you are, your identity is warped. You cannot come into a situation, into a marriage, and you don't know who you are, you don't know who you be. So it's like you need somebody else to complete you. No, it shouldn't be a case where you need your spouse to complete, you need a man to complete you, you need a woman to complete you. If you don't have a man, it's like your whole world will fall apart. No, you have to be whole before you enter into marriage. And another thing I want to touch on, another point I'd like to touch on, is that there's a reason why they speak of no premarital sex, no sex before marriage, because then you will be taking baggage into your marriage. Those who are virgins when they get married, kudos to you. But there are persons who are not virgins when they got married, and what you find is that you have soul ties coming into a marriage, and if you're not careful to break those soul ties, then you'll have issues in your marriage, because you cannot really cleave to your husband and your wife as how you should be, and how as the Bible has ordained it to be, a spirit-filled, purpose-filled marriage. You cannot if you have baggage that you need to cut off. So I would advise persons that when you are thinking about getting married, or preparing, courting, engaged, it is so important that you cut off those soul ties that are there with other persons, because you'll find that you just know completeness when you get with your partner. It's like there is just something blocking you from really cleaving as one, becoming one soul, because something else is there that is blocking you from coming into alignment as how God has ordained it to be, right? So I would advise you guys to go on fasting and prayer, and if you need help, seek someone or minister who is very skilled in deliverance, because yes, you can do self-deliverance, but there are some things that need to come out through prayer and fasting and assistance from a deliverance minister. And another thing, I see everybody just popping up, rings are falling, we know that, but I see persons just popping up, okay, I'm getting married. And what is your motive for getting married? Is it because you have a child together? or you've been together for a long time and you're just like, okay, it's just a normal step to take? What is your motive for getting married? That is a good question that you need to ask. And it should never be a case where you're getting married. If you're in the church, you're getting married because you want to have sex. No, you cannot be getting married because you want to have sex. And another thing is that persons don't seem to understand that the devil can send counterfeits. So God has a man for you or a wife for you, and yes, you've prayed and you've asked and you outlined to God exactly what you want in a partner. And then if you're not careful, if you're not testing the spirit, if you're not fasting and praying, so if somebody comes to you and say, okay, I want to have your hand in marriage, and you have not fasted and prayed and said, God, is this the right thing to do? You're in serious trouble. I can remember I asked, because I do makeup, so I do bridal makeup a lot. So I find that when a person, I just, a simple conversation, have you fasted or have you prayed when we're doing a consultation? And she's like, no, I haven't. And especially Christians, you cannot be out here careless. You just gonna take up a man because he said he's a man of God or she's a woman of God. Did you know that the devil goes to church also? I'm just asking. So y'all need to be in your fasting and your prayer in the word, because if you should be so hidden that your husband have to dig or your wife have to dig, your husband have to dig to find a car, no wife supposed to dig to find no husband in the first place. Alright, so what is your motivation to get married? And another thing that I've learned is that I've seen it. If the person is a certain way before getting married, chances are they'll be that same person after the ring is on the finger. So if you know the man is a serial cheater and you're like, oh, marriage will change him, no boo, no boo boo, no honey, marriage will not change him. What he'll do is, yes, he'll feel like, oh, she's there so she won't go anywhere, but I can still go and do what I need to do for myself. And out there having women there and here and everywhere. So if you see the man is a serial cheater before you get married, why are you getting married to this man? You cannot change the man. And another thing, those of you are getting married for business visas or whatever, business marriages, a marriage is still a marriage. A marriage is still a marriage because you still took an oath before God, regardless of what it looks like or where you took it. It could have been in a courthouse in front of a JP, whatever, or it is still a marriage. So this jump in, jump out, room for rent, apply within kind of thing with marriage where business marriage is concerned. You think God is happy with that? That is not God's original intent for marriage. So if you think that, okay, you're just doing it for business, no honey. No honey, no. It's still a marriage. So I would advise you, if you're in a business marriage, try to work it and make it work. Alright. So another thing is for believers is, are you guys equally yoked? And the same goes for unbelievers too, because if both of you have two different beliefs, how does that, join to make one? If you're two different denominations, which church is your child going to be christened in? One believe in a God, the other don't believe in a God. How that going to work? I don't know. So those are things to think about before you jump up and say you want a ring. You need to ask God, is this the right person? Are you even equally yoked before you even ask God a question? If you're not equally yoked, just forget about it. Alright, I'm sorry to be sounding so callous this morning. It's because, I'm just observing a lot of things out there. And another point I'd like to make is, if you believe that you are, as a woman, you are making more money, you're independent, and your husband is making less money, or he's not at the place where he needs to be, or your husband to be your fiance, do not go into marriage thinking that you are supposed to be calling the shots, because there is a divine order that God has ordained for families, and that is God, husband, wife, children. Is what I did there. God, husband, wife, children. So if you not submitting to your husband, you're out of order. It no matter if the man save or unsave, he's still the head of the household, so you need to submit regardless. Pray him through until he submits to God. But at the end of the day, you cannot sit there and say that you're in a spirit-filled and purposeful marriage if you are not living out Ephesians 5:22-23. Because yes, husbands must love their wives as Christ of the church. Wives, you should also love your husband and respect him. So if you know your mouth don't mean you're not good. Don't go down that road. And I think when I was studying, I always had issues with submitting. I had issues with submitting, and it's after I was just asking God, what do I need to do? Because clearly there's something wrong that I need to be doing right. So I was listening to TBC radio one morning going to school, and this program was on Focus on the Family, and they were speaking about a book. I think it's called Love and Respect. It's like a cycle. So when the wife is saying, okay, the husband doesn't love her, and so she acts disrespectful, and the husband says she's disrespectful, she don't deserve any love. So it's a cycle. So what they're basically saying is that you're supposed to try to meet each other's needs, or understand that each of you needs to be loved and respected. And when you do that, then it starts to flow back to you. So I had to learn how to step back, because I plan everything and I'm always, trying to be in charge. So I had to step back and to understand that my husband that God has given me, he needs to lead, and he is the head, and I have to step back and allow him to do what he needs to do as a man. So if you are not prepared to do that, do not accept a ring. And men, if you realize that lady from before no courting and you realize some behavior, you need to talk about it. And one last thing I'd advise couples to do before you even think about that, start doing premarital counseling, because a lot of things will come up in counseling that you'll think that, oh, this was never a problem, until somebody else objectively starts to show you how to deal with certain things. You know how to now move forward, and if this is right for you. So overall, just to summarize, is that before you even think about getting a ring, you need to be whole. Get deliverance if you need to get deliverance. Cut some soul ties. Check your motive as to why you want to get married. Is it for the kids? Because you've been together long? Is it a business marriage? Or, it's just something to look good for the gram? Because people out here just wanting to look good for the gram, and they don't think about the marriage in itself, just the wedding. Y'all look nice on Instagram and social media in Mona Lucci, but what about the life after the wedding day? Yeah. So another thing is, if you're not ready to live a spirit-filled marriage life, you not have no business to ask for no ring, people. If you plan not to submit already to your husband, and if you plan to not love your wife from the start, don't bother. Leave the people them girl pit there alone. And don't go stress out the people them son. Okay? Don't stress out the people them son. Because, at the end of the day, God does not like divorce. God not like it. So if your intuition tell you certain things, so you're not to go down that road there, don't do it. Because that's most likely God telling you that That's not something, that's not the road to go down. All right, so this has been long, so I'll see you guys in another video, and then I think the other video will be about when you get the ring, or you behave like, or you're supposed to be behaving when you get the ring from the man or from the woman. So I hope this was a blessing. I pray that you guys will do some serious contemplation as you prepare your courtship, as you prepare to be a wife, as you prepare to be a husband. Just try to be whole before you take on, you know, life with somebody else. Because if you're not whole, it doesn't make any sense, because it's just more stress in your family life, and your children will see that stress. All right, so have a blessed day, and God bless you.